Anyway, welcome to the Columbus County Draft Ordinance, Cannabis Ordinance Public Input Outreach, which out is kind of an oxymoron, but yes, we're here to take input and comments in regards to our draft ordinance. Back there on the table, you'll see all kinds of materials and stuff. If you haven't read the draft ordinance yet, there's a copy of that back there as well. Real quick, couple of housekeeping things. The bathrooms are, if you're not familiar with the place, out here to the right, and they are unlocked. So if you use the restroom, you'll feel free to use those. I guess we'll do our roll call. I'll just ask each one of us to state your name and which district, and then whether you're here present or whatever. So,
I'm Cindy Robinson, and I represent District 4, just Quincy area.
Matt Fogarty, District 2.
And I'm Kevin Goss, the chair, and I'm the supervisor for District 2.
Debbie Thompson, District 5, this district.
Kim Scott, District 1.
I'm Jeff Engel, Supervisor, District 5.
Okay. And we're here, and the only one missing right now is Michael James, and he's the Chester representative, and so hopefully he can make it. Maybe he got caught in all of the hubbub going on in Greenville. We also have our support staff, Craig Settlemyer, County Council. I don't believe he's here. Sheriff Greg Hangwood, I saw him, he's here. Tim Gibson, our Ag Commissioner. He is probably not here yet. Randy Wilson right here, our Planning Director. And so if I could have everybody stand and face the flag, and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So we're going to have a brief presentation by Randy Wilson, our Planning Director, and then we'll get into the public comments after that, and I'll go over some of the stuff for the public comment when we get to that portion of the meeting. So Randy.
Okay, again, I'm Randy Wilson, Columbus County Planning Director. I'm going to give an overview of what I'm going to talk about, the Cannabis Ordinance Development Process overview, what we've done so far, cannabis-related issues, new state regs, Medical Cannabis Regulation Act, and Prop 64. They've been combined under recent state legislation, and I am not even going to try to pronounce the acronym, as did the people from the Department of Ag a couple of weeks ago. Quincy, talk a little bit about the state agency's role in regulating cannabis activities, and a bit of an overview of the ordinance. I'm hoping everybody has a copy. There's also a summary sheet that summarizes some of it, and then some key points. So, the Cannabis Working Group was appointed by the Board of Supervisors. You're meeting them. The working group worked to develop a draft cannabis ordinance. They had several meetings, actually in the Board of Supervisors meeting room. There were public meetings in how they worked over that ordinance that you're now seeing. Public outreach and comment meetings are taking place within each district. And then I want to say at this point, there is a need for a local permit in order to apply for a state permit. We don't want to be trumped by the state and let them do our permitting for us. Cannabis Working Group will be making revisions based on the public input from all 5 of these meetings. And this is the 3rd meeting we've had. We had one in Greenville, we had one last week in Chester. We're here, Becky, next week.
Portola. That'll be Wednesday, August 3rd.
Wednesday.
Thursday.
Wednesday. We couldn't get
Yeah, we
there
couldn't get there.
Thursday.
And then we skip a week.
Wednesday, the 3rd.
Then we skip a week and have the final
Skip 2 weeks.
input meeting in Quincy.
August 17th.
This group will be making revisions based on this public input. That discussion will occur back in Quincy, in the courthouse, in the boardroom, and it will be open to the public. The Cannabis Working Group will then make recommendations to the Columbus County Planning Commission, because the Planning Commission has to make the recommendation on an ordinance such that, like this, to the Board of Supervisors. So What I'm saying here, you have input tonight, you'll have 2 other input meetings, you'll have a chance to discuss things with the working group when they go back to Quincy and take all this input together and collate it. We expect to get both verbal and written comments. So if you don't feel like speaking tonight, and by the way, we are recording and we're posting these items on the internet, and I'll show you that in a little bit. And then at the planning commission, there's more input, and then at the board, there'll be more input. So this process is continuing to seek public comment and input as we go along, which could drive changes to the ordinance. Ordinance overview and adoption. The Board of Supervisors approves the draft cannabis ordinance for CEQA review. So CEQA is the California Environmental Quality Act. Because it's an ordinance, we're required to do CEQA review and compliance on the ordinance. So all this is leading up to the board saying, this is the project we want to go to CEQA review on. The CEQA review will be conducted, and it also could change, because if there's significant impacts, the CEQA review would then have mitigation measures that effectively change the ordinance. Staff recommends that cannabis activities be taxed at the local level, and then a general tax nature be taxed by the voters. Right now, there are some taxing measures in state law, and there is this recommendation that along with an ordinance that would be a successful general election to tax cannabis, that would be on that, potentially on manufacturing, cultivation, and dispensing. This is kind of a general overview of the process. Again, public hearings will be held both by the Planning Commission and the Board. I can't emphasize that enough. This is not your last chance to make a statement on this subject. Changes to the draft ordinance are always possible. Even after the Board directs it to a CEQA review, changes can still occur from the CEQA review. And the Board could then even decide, well, we want to change it a little bit and go back and forth. The Board of Supervisors has authorized the development of this cannabis ordinance. And I want to make this really clear, but is not bound to approve such ordinance if the board chooses in the end. So at the end, they can dump it. That's just, but they have authorized the processing of this ordinance. I want to make note that previously the board held 2 hearings regarding putting a moratorium in place. This was last year, and did not impose a moratorium at this time. Cannabis-related issues. Cannabis cultivation has been illegal and has not been regulated in the past by either the state or the county. There is kind of this loophole with medical cannabis and scripts. Cannabis cultivation has not been taxed either by at the local level or by the state. There has been environmental degradation. A lot of it has occurred on the forest here. I don't know about much in Plumas County, and certainly we have the cartel issues. Just be clear, this ordinance will not regulate federal lands. It only regulates the private lands and state lands and state lands. So this huge portion of the county, which I'll get into in a little bit, that's federal lands is not regulated by this ordinance, and of course it is still a class 1 drug under federal policies and very, very bad on federal lands. We've had cannabis associated with cartels and violence. It's, to my knowledge, the highest value agricultural crop that may exist on a common market. There's a lot of, because it's so high valued, there's a lot of people that may want to do it. There have been and are no cannabis dispensaries in Plumas County. There are no permitted manufacturing operations in Plumas County. That's where you take the plant and you manufacture it into all kinds of things, from soaps to lotions to candies. There's a whole array. And last but not least, neighborhood compatibility issues with cultivation and cannabis-related activities. That is a compatibility issue, and as the county's planning director, I deal with compatibility issues in the neighborhoods. That's what a zoning code is meant to deal with. New state regulations, medical cannabis, MRSA, they mess with the name. By the way, the state keeps changing their regulations. They, as a budget trailer bill in late May, early June, whatever, before the budget was done, they combined both the medical cannabis and recreation cannabis laws, one being a proposition and one being legislation. And we're just now sorting that out. And I had an email from what we used to nickname Bummer Bureau of Medical Marijuana. It's now got another name. That's the state agency that's really in charge of issuing dispensaries and has a central role in the state government for issuing cannabis permits. I got an email, because I'm on their listserv, saying that, well, we're revising everything, we're going to submit new. What the state does is they create legislation, and in California, then they go about this really involved rulemaking process. So you can't exactly read the law and understand how it plays out. And that rulemaking process becomes official. And so normally that takes months. So what I think they're telling us is, oh, we're going to do emergency and we're going to have our stuff together, but the rest of the counties and cities who may be dealing with this issue, who have not got an ordinance in place, are still trying to struggle how it all fits together. Again, the Proposition 64 in Plumas County, the recreation, passed by 51%. So what that means is anybody over 21 in the county is now legal for recreational cannabis, but you really can't buy it in California until the state starts issuing permits after the first of the year. I think they're saying January 2nd. What it also means is every residence, just every residence or property is allowed to grow 6 plants for their own use, for recreation. Now, the local jurisdictions can force those 6 plants to be all indoors or partly indoors, and these folks have come up with a method to try to deal with compatibility in those 6 plants and outdoor growing based on some zoning and parcel sizes. So be clear that there's 2 facets of this. There's the recreational cannabis that residents, and say you have a house on a piece of property and there's a husband and wife, they only get to grow 6 plants under the recreational. Legally in California, they can grow them all indoors. Local jurisdictions' only ability to deal with it is to deal with the outdoor growing, as I know it legally at this point. Again, the law changes and twists on us. Under both laws, local permits or licenses are required first in order to obtain a state license. There's a nuance there. If we don't have anything, the state would then take jurisdiction. State agencies regulating cannabis, and this is pretty important because the state's put together a pretty complex and arduous, if you want to use the word, regulation scheme, which involves the Department of Fish and Wildlife. There's the Regional Water Quality Control Board. We have in our possession in the office their draft waste discharge permits for cannabis. But right now, the overall state board has come out with some new regulations, and I haven't even had a chance to look at them. Department of Food and Agriculture is charged by the state to issue cultivation permits. So we issue a cultivation permit, and then they want to go into the state system for legal, meaning our permit would be subject to the state permit. They would have to go through the Department of Food and Ag to do that. So they're going to do that. The Department of Public Health will be dealing with the manufacturing, as I know it so far. The Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, CAL FIRE, is a little out of order. In Plumas County, if you cut down trees and merchantable lumber, it can be, you have to get a permit from the Department of Forestry. So just going on your piece of property and cutting down all your trees may get you in big trouble with CAL FIRE. And they're keen to this issue, and they've already done some enforcement in Plumas County. And then the Bureau of Cannabis Control, which is the new name for Bummer, and that agency's head up by a woman named Lori Ajak, will be issuing the dispensary permits. All these agencies have separate permit requirements that all come together and separate fees, so this is not a cheap commercial endeavor to get into, and I'm talking just on the commercial side. We'll set that residential side part aside, but to be in the commercial cannabis system in California, you've got to deal with all these agencies one way or another. And their fees, which will be, I think there's a $5,000 bond with one of them, I'm not sure. Several Plumas County departments may also be involved in local permitting in the Plumas County Cannabis Ordinance if it's approved, planning, building, environmental health, and quite possibly the state could contract with the agricultural commissioner to issue their permits. So he's going to be involved, and he may be involved in a whole bunch of other things. At this point, I'm going to bring up a map of the county zoning, and we're kind of going to take a hiatus from this presentation, and I'm going to bring up the county GIS. And I'm focusing on the Gray Eagle. This also includes the Portola area. And the first thing I brought up, I think the green is Highway 89 and Highway 70, so those are roads. The blue is county roads, and then you get into these blue rectangles and red rectangles and purples. So those are the master plan communities. So what we have is the town of Gray Eagle, and you can see that it includes Plumas Eureka, and this was done when we updated the general plan a few years back. You have the C Road is what we call a rural place. It has certain characteristics. Then we get into these master plan communities. This one is where Jeff lives, Valley Ranch, White Hawk Ranch, Gold Mountain. There is a town of Delacour that we created, and of course this is Portola, and the county has no jurisdiction in Portola. So I'm going to turn on, and you bear with me because I have to move through some layers here, some information for you. I'm going to turn on the zoning, and then I'm going to zoom in on grade. This area. So Gray Eagle is, in a way, a master plan community, but it really did fall within the town category when we were updating the general plan. The colors blue, when they show up, are residential zonings. The smaller parcel zonings, more like what you would call city or town-like zonings. The red, which is the, I'll show it in the corridor around Gray, where we are, is commercial zonings. The turquoise, or this where my cursor is, says GF, that's general forest, and this is timber preserve. And right now the ordinance says nothing in timber preserve. And then you get into more rural zoning of the browns, and the S1 and S3 are minimum acreage of 1 acre to 3 acres are the yellows. So you can see the zoning mosaic. When you look at this area, a whole bunch of it is encompassed within the town of Gray Eagle. Now I have a question. How many in this group know what their zoning is? 50%? So you guys are doing pretty good. I talked to somebody recently at a conference, and I asked how many people knew their zoning, and she said, what, 10%? So it's ranging around 50% to a third. So you're pretty well informed about your zoning. The importance of that is this ordinance is based on zoning. And zoning, of course, is trying to look at compatibility. So it's all tied to a certain zoning district for certain types of permits. The one thing I do want to share with you is what we have on the county website. So this is the main county page when you go to plumascounty.com and the official county website. And there's lots of buttons, but down here on this lower left is one called Cannabis Working Group. And when you click on that, you get a page that has a bunch of information, which we're continually trying to add onto. And bear with us, sometimes we do a meeting like this. This meeting will be put on this website, and it will be shown live. Or you can click on this one here, and I'm going to do it. and it'll bring up basically YouTube, and we'll see what we get. This is the first meeting we had in Greenville. So this meeting, I don't have the Chester meeting on yet, and this meeting will all be on there. So I'm going to kick out of that. I don't think we want to watch the previous meeting. The other thing I want to do is go to the Maine County website again and try to show you our online county GIS system. The one I'm showing on the screen is the actual big GIS program behind when we post. And you'll see on this, you'll see county maps. So I'm going to click on that. And you'll get a page, view county GIS, maps at a glance. I recommend going to the first one, view maps, and it'll give you this portal. And there's a bunch of things here. So our GIS person is also trying to add a bunch of information all the time to this. So I'll click on the portal. And I've been trying to show this to real estate agents because they call us all the time about zoning. And certainly, if you don't know your zoning, feel free to call the department or email us. We're more than welcome. This has information about parcels, fire districts, general plan designations, census, some on population trends. What district are you in, so you can find out what supervisorial district. But I'll click on the county zoning, and it'll work, and it'll come up here. And it has various search tools you can use. Up here you can search by address. You can use this bar here, gives you the map legend. There you can get a lot of information. It's also got a parcel search on it, so if you know your assessor parcel number, you can go in and look at it. It also can zoom in, and you see I'm going to. So it gives you somewhat what I showed you on the other map. So this is a handy little tool we're trying to provide to people. I don't know if I can do this. I'm going to go back. I've got 3 county pages open. One thing that comes up is, what does the county code say? So about Plumas County, and you go down there and there's a button, you click on it, Plumas County Code. So you find out what your zoning is, and then what does that mean? So you go over here and it's Title IX, Planning and Zoning, and you can click on that and you get the entire zoning code. Should the Board of Supervisors pass an ordinance, it will be in this area of the county code, probably spread throughout all the zoning districts the way it works, but that's where you can find it. So I'm trying to give you some handy little tools and I guess a little sales job on the county website. So back to the full-blown county GIS, and I do want to show you a few things. I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to turn off some things like the zoning. So I'm going to turn off all those colors. So all we have is the roads and the, stay off. You can see the communities, and I'm going to turn on a couple of layers you might find interesting. And I don't know how